Hey, what's up guys, this is Kate. Today is my episode again. As you may already know that I majored in accounting and also I live in Hong Kong. So one important qualification for me is HKICPA. So I passed all the professional modules in one attempt. There are also some friends asking me about how I passed, and I think these tips might also help you guys to pass the HKICPA exam. I organized total 10 tips to help you in the whole exam process, and I divided them into 3 parts. The first is the things to do before the registration, and the second part is the things to do after you're receiving your learning pack, and the third part is the things to do right before the exam day.
Let's get started.
Tip number 1. You have to plan ahead for your exams. Like the old QP is ABCD, so I'll refer it to the ABCD. So this is the things to do before your registration. You have to decide your pace, like you take A and B in this following section and C and D in the section next. So you have to plan carefully and keep on your pace. And after registration, you will receive your learning pack like about 3 months before the exam day. And after you receive your learning pack, there's tip number 2. You have to look through the LP and find out the requirement. It's really important to go through the learning pack. For example, they have the learning outcomes part, so you can see the requirement for each topic. Usually rank from 1 to 4. To my experience, there are not so many 4s, really 3 tops. Also at the back of the book is the glossary of terms. These forms really saved my ass in the taxation exam because I sort of skipped the topic transfer pricing and China tax. I didn't get very detailed into it, and in exams they asked me about a term related to transfer pricing, and I totally don't understand what it is. They asked me to explain the term, so I refer to the glossary of terms. It is organized alphabetically, and I find the terms, find the page number, and turn to that page and copy it to my exam paper. Tip number 3. Find the appropriate learning materials. For example, for the module D, the taxation, I use the Patrick Ho. It is not an advertisement, but I think the Patrick Ho has some explanation by the writer, so it can help you to grasp the main point of some topics. Tip number 4. You'd better take notes when you're studying. A note is not copying the textbook, but use your own words to describe the structure or the logic or some difficult topics. You don't have to do this for every topic, just those important topics, so it is more convenient for you to review the notes instead of the textbook before your exams. And tip number 5. It is very helpful if you do a quick recap after finishing each chapter. Like you go through in your mind the logic of this chapter, the difficult points. If you find something blurred or you forget about some parts, a quick review will help a lot. I use this method every time I do a self-learning because it will reinforce your memory in a very short period. Tip number 6. You have to really participate into the workshop. What I see in the workshop I participated is that students going there just to get a pass. They don't really interact with the teacher, the lecturer, but if you proactively participate in the workshop, it is a practice for the final exams, because in the final exams the workshop also took 30% of the final grade, so you have to really participate into the workshops. And on the other hand, if you participate into the workshops, you can ask about the problems you have in your learning. The lecturer, they are already professional practitioners. They have many years experience, so they can answer questions easily. And they may also explain some topics their own way, so you can learn it better. And after the workshop, I believe the time flies and quickly goes to 2 weeks before the exam. I believe you have already finished all of the topics. As approaching the exam day, here comes tip number 7. It is to check past papers for at least 5 sections. The one thing is you can use the past papers as practice questions. Another important thing is that you can see the trend of the past paper. For example, a same topic appears like 3 sections before and it appears in the last section. It is with high probability that topic will not appear in this year's section. So you may skip this topic in the reviewing stage if you don't have enough time to review all the topics. Tip number 8. In this tip, I will teach you how to do the practice question. Some students might do the practice questions like the write down. It will slow down your process. You may not practice a lot of questions before the exams. Just think about the main points you're going to answer. Then read the answer to the practice question carefully. Like you have to study the structure of the answers. So in this practice, you know how could improve your answers. Like the opening sentence, ending sentence, the wording, and the main points to each topic. So in this case, you can save your time, and also you can do a lot of practice question. And tip number 9, prepare for the materials you're gonna bring into the exam hall. You know, it is an open book exam, so one important part of the exam is know how to find the answers in the materials. One thing is to label the materials. A good label is using your own words and labels high frequency topics and very useful materials. It is useless to label each chapter. Like you can find each chapter by referring to the content page. Another important material to bring into the exam hall is professional answers to whatever practice question you have. One prerequisite is that you really read through those professional answers. This is the past paper I bring to Module A in the exam, and I labeled the part that I could take reference. For example, the merger accounting. So if I bumped into similar questions, I can just turn to this page and copy the answers, like how it is organized or the logic flow, and if the 2 questions are highly similar, then I can actually use the same answer. Tip number 10 is an instruction on how you write on the answer sheet. Of course, you have to write neat and clean and do not make the answer look messy. Another thing is that I found it useful to leave 2 to 3 lines blank between each 2 sub-questions. So if you want to add something, add into the blank part. And on the other hand, it is easier for the grader to differentiate between 2 sub-questions. So this is the 10 tips that I come up with and find useful. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment box. I will check and reply you guys. So hope you're enjoying this video, and good luck in your HKICPA exams.